new drinks are now at McDonald's, with refreshers like the Strawberry Watermelon Refresher and the Mango Pineapple Refresher with popping boba, to crafted sodas like the Sprite Berry Blast with berry flavors and cold foam. Who knew ice-cold drinks could be so fire? Try them all now at McDonald's.
Refreshers contain caffeine. Copyright 2026, The Coca-Cola Company. Sprite is a registered trademark of The Coca-Cola Company.
Your summer starts now with Memorial Day deals at the Home Depot. It's time to fire up summer cookouts with the Next Grill 4-burner gas grill on special buy for only $199. And entertain all season with the Hampton Bay West Grove 7-piece outdoor dining set for only $499. This Memorial Day, get low prices guaranteed at the Home Depot. While supplies last, pricing valid May 14th through May 27th. U.S. only, exclusions apply. See homedepot.com/price match for details.
Hello and welcome to episode 273 of the Washed Up Emo podcast. I am Tom Mullen from washedupemo.com. Today in the podcast is Kevin Duquette from Topshelf Records. The label just turned 20 years old. Kevin and I speak about the label over the last 20 years, what's changed, and what Kevin and the crew are looking forward to. Now, what's really cool is they're building out an amazing space in Portland, so if you're in the area, go out, visit, support one of the best labels out there. We get into some fun topics like demo submissions. Don't worry, comes full circle. We even get into a Crimson Desert reference into the podcast. Finally, as always, a great conversation about the state of emo and once revival era that's coming up more and more as the eras have done before. Everything is full circle. Thank you to everyone that listens and supports the podcast. It means a lot. This is episode 273 of the Washed Up Emo podcast with Kevin Duquette from Topshelf Records. Kevin.
Hi, Tom.
What's going on?
Not too much. It's a picture-perfect day here in Portland, so I've just been relaxing on my porch.
How's the garden?
It's kind of in a state of limbo, I guess, because we moved and hadn't really. There's so much work to do around here. We bought a building with the label, so there's like a warehouse, there's a storefront area, there's like a space we're gonna build a venue and a cafe in.
Wow. There's
an apartment upstairs that I live in. And then there's a little side yard with like where we want to put a garden. But there's, so I just have like, when we moved, we like just threw a bunch of our stuff into plastic pots and in buckets and stuff. And it's just been sitting in the side yard. And I'm like, whatever can survive, like the winter, whatever, like they will earn the right to be just pampered for the rest of their lives. Cause I'm not going anywhere after this. You know?
I like that plan.
Yeah. So, but right now it's in just absolute disarray. Like normally I would be like starting seeds and doing lots of stuff, but it's kind of weird to ignore that itch.
But there's a venue and things you bought and stuff. So I feel like that's kind of ahead of time. So the last I saw you was Best Friends.
Yeah, that was kind of hectic.
How was it for you guys?
It was great. My first time at it, and I guess maybe last. We'll see if they come back with it. But several friends went the year before, and I had lots of friends playing it and stuff. And everyone told me, "Dude, you simply gotta come to this. Top Shelf needs to bring so much." They were like, "If you bring it, you'll sell it. It's crazy." Like Numero Group was there, Polyvinyl was there. They both sold out of everything. It was just nonstop lines all day, and I was like, okay, like we're close enough. We could drive to Vegas in a day, and so I was like, load up the van, and we brought so much stuff. And to be real, we sold so much fucking stuff, and it was really exciting to see all these younger kids like grown-ups, you blew it, just stuff that, and turning kids on to some of the lesser known stuff. I'm like, oh, well, if you like that, you should grab a prom CD, or you should grab a golfer CD or something. And they were buying up CDs in droves, and we just did it kind of like garage sale style. So we just had milk crates and milk crates and milk crates full of just like tapes and CDs and records, encouraging people to like kind of crate dig a little and find stuff, and we were giving recommendations. And honestly, I didn't see that many sets because it was kind of nonstop. We definitely brought too much stuff, but it felt really good. It invigorated me a lot. There was
Really?
I thought there was going to be just like, I kind of thought it was going to be like, looking at the lineup too, I'm like, this is going to be like Gen X out. It's going to be like an older crowd a little bit.
Bunch of Toms.
Yeah, honestly though, just like,
yeah,
I would be, at 40 years old, one of the, younger side of this. I really thought it was going to be Nostalgia Fest, and so many younger people there. It was awesome, and a great mix of ages, and just like, the festival was, it seemed, it was great across the board. And I caught Crochet we were loading in. I think they were maybe like the first band of the first day, which is kind of rough when you're playing a festival and you're like, it's noon on the first day on the, we're just like, let's go, but
what's up?
No, we were loading in. I was like, I got to stop because I like have to watch this band. Like, absolutely ripped. And yeah, there was a lot of, I didn't really discover too many bands, and I knew about Crochet before, but I'd never seen them. And, but otherwise, it was just like really good to see a bunch of these bands for the first time in years, see a bunch of buds. It was like a rotating door all day of just people from a lifetime in music, just coming through and saying, hey, it was awesome.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But got to catch up with you a little bit too.
You saved me.
Really?
Because I couldn't get away for a slice. I just needed food, and I couldn't leave because of the bands and taking photos and all this stuff. And so you handed me a slice, and you saved me. I don't know what night it was, but whatever time you handed me one, it saved me.
Oh yeah. I mean, same. It was nonstop. So I was just like, I got to step away for a sec. And like, what's the most efficient way to feed a bunch of people? We're buying a bunch of pizzas, I was like, pizza in downtown Las Vegas, we'll see. But it hit.
So then, I mean, it's kind of interesting then us seeing each other then, because I was thinking back that, there's rose-colored glasses of certain time, and then there's also sort of I'm happy we were in it. I don't know. There's stages, right, of getting older and what you remember. And we had spoken a long time ago and connected and being like, what the fuck do you mean that bands are sounding like this right now? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's dead. And what it turned into, what it's evolved, and how it's still around, and how a lot of those bands that you said have played or you've, reconnected with, or it's just been a really interesting moment when you starting this label. So, at when you did and what's happened now, and you've talked about, what you're going to do, but when did that hit? During that festival, or had it sort of grown? Because I know we've spoken over the years, and I've asked a 5-minute question, but it's like over the time that we've spoken, like your priorities have changed, and what this word means, and what the scene is, and just think it's crazy. You've been doing this for a long time now. This isn't like, oh, I'm just figuring this out.
Yeah, all of that, and I'd say. One of the more interesting things too is when you, and I felt this even as it was happening, like when you felt it was like launching off, and it was like you had, I don't even know, like outlets like, you can probably help me here. From like USA Today premiering a Braid track, or
right,
like a Balancing Composure track being like premiered by, or the album even being like premiered by Pitchfork, and it was like, they wouldn't touch emo with, that's a 4-letter word, like we are not engaging with that, we're panning it entirely. And then there's, they're premiering the You Blew It record and the Balancing Composure record, and reviewing like Crash of Rhinos very favorably, and things started to just sort of, all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is graduated into some other, not necessarily like the music had changed a bunch, but like how it was being received. I think maybe there was like a new class of music editorial freelance writers or whatever. These people had come up in this or adjacent to it or whatever, and it was just a different way of engaging with it, more appreciatively, I guess. And so that kind of sent it into the stratosphere briefly. And then I think it's just been, subsequent. No other genre gets analyzed to this extent. And delineating waves of it and everything. As far as I can tell, maybe I'm wrong, but whatever wave we're on now, I don't know. But it's interesting looking back at like the narrative around things and just like how things through those rose-colored glasses get different ahistorical and historical treatment of, like I don't remember at the time Marietta being like the humongous band that they are today. There were far bigger bands, and some of them being like kind of lost to time, forgotten a little bit. And not to say that I'm not speaking on whether anyone deserves anything or anything. More so just like, I remember seeing them as like playing, somewhere middle of the bill, even in like Philly or something, under a lot of, bands like Algernon or like a Grown Ups or something, Street Smart Cyclists, Knowing Stuff, who are all, I think, pretty well regarded or known. But I think there's among younger people, like they're like, Marietta is like the biggest emo band all time. And it's just interesting how that like really wasn't the case when it was actually happening. And I guess, in a lot of ways, that's sort of like American football is the same way. It was like, this is not a big thing when it was active. But with time, people discovering it, sharing it, passing it around, algorithms or whatever nowadays. And it's just like, they can come and play a festival and bring out in their own right, probably thousands of people to like somewhere in the middle of the desert. Just crazy.
When did you hear that some of these things were hitting like as a label, like later?
I mean, for our part, I was putting out in the earlier days, I'd say we were doing more emo, screamo, hardcore adjacent stuff. And, but that wasn't always what we were doing. Even at that time, but it was clear, it was like, oh, this is what is really getting traction when we do it. And frankly, like it was sort of like what I was really excited about, what I wanted to go when I would go to shows and see different bands we were working with and different sounds and different like sonic lanes or whatever. There'd be sometimes very little crossover in terms of, different audiences or different scenes, even within the same like geographic zones. And anytime I went to like a show where a bunch of emo bands were playing, it was going to be like really fun, and there was going to be big crowds, and there was going to be like a lot of energy around it. And when we were in the more formative days of the label, that was really what got me really excited about this stuff, and what turned my head, where it's like, oh, I want to be like involved with this. I want to document this to the extent that I know how. I was making like scene websites and little just show pages and stuff online, and just like we hosted a forum for a while for like Western Massachusetts like shows. I'm going down to Wallingford this weekend to go see whatever was happening then, and it was a whole different way to engage with it, but you could just tell there was excitement online, and people driving like 3, 4, 5 hours to come to shows. And the energy, you just see the same people all the time at these shows. And something most recently was like a clip of like grown-ups playing a basement in Connecticut in like the 2010s, and I'm looking at the footage and I'm like, I know like 15 people in the crowd.
That's awesome.
It was just like the same faces you saw at every show, kind of. It was just, there's a lot of energy behind it. And I'd say straight from the jump, man, I saw that and identified that, and it was like, this is cool. This is really fun. It's sustained. And I think there's a lot of problems with, you know, scenes in their formative times and everything, but around just interpersonal dynamics and stuff. Anyways, humans are complicated, but it's just it was all pure and well intentioned, and just a bunch of people wanting to make music and yell, and it's very cathartic release. It's a cool time. And it's
Yeah,
still happening for sure.
it's still happening, and it's in cooler places than we're aware of. Like that,
Yeah.
you know, that's what I try to think about, is that the people that are doing this, you know, that it's always going to keep going. But I guess for you, that perspective and being in that world, and like you said, you were releasing other things. I think that was almost what I liked. It wasn't. It was part of it, and then there would be some left field thing that I'd never heard about or thought about, and it was in the release schedule or part of it. Was there again, with a limited staff? I worked at indie labels, right? You kind of have to work toward what's working to keep the lights
Yeah,
on,
totally.
and there's that balance. And so having the association with the word, association with those bands, but not necessarily, or maybe you were trying to do two things at once.
It increasingly felt like that, where, you know, sometimes I would have to have, there wasn't always like if there were some bands that if we just put out their stuff because of the sound, it would sort of just like, oh, this is good for a few hundred, like I'm going to sell all these. I'm not really worried about it, just because of what it is and like the world that it operates in. And then there'd be some things that just like didn't get that same treatment. And there was a lot of stuff that in hindsight, there's nothing that I'm upset that, or like I wouldn't go back and like, you know, unrelease or whatever, or remove it from the label's catalog. But there's some things where it's like I would maybe change my approach. There was a lot of assumptions made about just like, because we're so used to things going a certain way, and just realizing like, oh, not everyone's going to like follow us every path we take, which is fine, but we need to like get good at how we market, and how we're promoting different sounds to our audience. And as that audience grows, diversifies in terms of just what people are interested in listening to, recognizing that like, oh, maybe not everyone's going to come along for every kind of sonic avenue that we decide to explore. So there were some tough moments where it was like, okay, you know, you want to do what it, like a lot of times this is like the label is just like an expression publicly of like my music taste. And as I've grown, you know, I started a label when I was 19 and now I'm 40, and it's just like I've been doing this half my life, and all along the way it's been like here's what I'm into, you know, as my own personal sonic palette grows, I don't want to limit what I could do professionally, because I'm personally interested into so much, you know, and so much more than that. But it's a challenge to get anyone to hit play on anything. Never mind like, hey, this is a little different, you know, like try this one. So lessons learned there for sure.
Do you have an example? Like I think about, I don't know, we had I don't know if it was a text message or a DM chat or something over, I don't know how long ago it was, but just this, I don't remember the specifics, but it was sort of, you know, hey, I'm trying to talk about this new thing, and it's hard to get people's ears, which you mentioned, but also having this awareness of what the label is and what people perceive, and to get out of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I also saw the writing on the wall with some other labels where I'm like, okay, there's ways to go about this. You can be like a Triple B Records or something, and it's just like, we are going to put out amazing hardcore records, and you're always going to be down with that.
Right.
And because, you know, it's super well curated. We're in this shit, you know, and that's obviously dope. But, you know, I was like, is that all I want this to be? And I don't mean that in a reductive way at all. It's just sort of like, I want to be able to do more than just emo records. I also, like you mentioned, it's got to like keep the lights on. You do like, it is, yes, releasing people's art and sharing their creative vision and making sure that, uplifting artists and hoping that like you can help them reach a wider audience. But at the end of the day, that's all through the filter of, a capitalist framework where it's like, all right, this has to make money, dude, or we can't do this. And yeah, you do it too many times where it doesn't, and all of a sudden you're messing with the whole thing, the whole operation. So it became, I'd say, a little bit of a challenge. I noticed myself like, oh, we're painting ourselves kind of into a corner here. If I continue down this, then it's going to be increasingly harder to, or just more and more perceived as like a really left field thing if we do anything genre wise that isn't this, And so, yeah, it was a concentrated effort on my part to try and like write that, write that in not that it was a wrong, I more so mean in like a ship analogy sense, but just steer that back towards being able to do whatever we want. And especially since nowadays, like you mentioned, like small label staff, indie label stuff, but I'm not getting any younger. I don't go to basement shows all the time anymore. I still do, but I'm not on it like I used to be. And I increasingly want like our entire staff, like from everyone from like, the 19-year-old part-time help in our mail order warehouse, to, our publicist, to, just everyone on staff here having decision-making power from like a perspective, A&R perspective. And we're just bringing things to the table and seeing what sticks, what's everybody kind of enjoying collectively. And then we kind of make decisions from there. And so it's much more, I'd say it's gone from being just me making decisions like that to like more of a collective approach, which is really fun for me because it's just sort of stuff that isn't even on my radar. I've been shown so many things, and a lot of bands that we work with, artists that we work with go on tour, and they're like, dude, we just played, Akron, Ohio, and this fucking thing just blew my mind. You got to check this out. And, I'm like, okay, cool. Right on. Will do. Thanks. And there's so much stuff like that. Even just like people like you sending me a text, just like, hey, I'm looking at this thing. It's been catching my eye, or I've been seeing this in my feed. Are you hip to this? That happens like once a week, and it's just, which can be entirely overwhelming sometimes. Just, I'd say pretty much every day of my life, I have someone going, hey, listen to this, or can you check out my demo, or hey, can you listen to these mixes? Like, let me know your thoughts. And I'm just like, dude, I don't have any thoughts. Thank you. I love you. I'm so sorry.
What's so funny is you pop in my head weekly when I'm on Facebook or Instagram. Because at one point, I don't know if this was the height of the emo nights we were doing and the podcast was really rolling and like the revival and like people were really hip to the 90s for a second, right? And they were sort of going back, and there was just a lot of chatter and a lot going back and forth. And I just remember like I would still have this energy of like, I'm going to connect with everyone that I can. And this is on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And I think it was like a mutual friend of you had added me, and I hit you up and said, who is this? And I don't know the exact words, but it was like, I don't know who this is. And then I think you said, I don't know who it is. And then you told me how you don't add bands to your personal. And I started doing that from that moment on. And it's only
Facebook
Washed Up Emo.
Yeah, I buy stuff and I like keep up with my family there. And honestly, every time I log on, I unfollow or unfriend like pretty much everyone who shows up in my feed. And like, no offense or anything, it's just like that's not what I'm there for.
Right. But it was like you telling me that was interesting because I had this, and it goes back to your staff piece and where your priorities have changed, and where I still liked telling people about bands, but I think it got overwhelming where I always responded to everybody. I can't anymore. I responded to every single email that has come into Washed Up Emo. I think I have like 300 unanswered, and that's so unheard of. And I have to I've had shifting priorities with work, with life, with a lot of different things that I needed to shift. But you telling me that was so interesting because it's so intertwined. Personal is business. Business is personal. It's like you're at a social setting. And anyway, it just got me like overwhelmed of like, I can't keep up or I can't be that way in this role. And I think for you at the label, that was probably one of the pieces of you going, I'm going to start, like you said, not my ideas or my thoughts, which you had other ideas and thoughts, but from a band perspective, you were open. You were open to having people tell you about stuff. You always were, but I'm saying from like a larger way from your staff.
And I definitely remain so. Like our public like facing policy. Like if you go to the website, like the info page or FAQs or anything, it's like we're not accepting demos right now. But that's like a I don't know, like a yellow light to most people. They just blow right by it and are like, hey, I know it says that, but you're like my dream label or whatever, like I just really love your roster or love what you guys. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. You're attaching like 30 megs of files to your email and doing everything I asked you not to do. And, but anyway, a lot of times, in general, I think I find out about music more organically, or I get it directly from people who I already have some kind of relationship or whatever with or know. And that's where I'm like, I have to get back to these people because there's some kind of like, I know you, I have been in green rooms with you, I have toured with you, I have made some kind of professional commitment to you in the past,
right?
Or something, like there's something more than just an unsolicited email with a bunch of attachments that's like, a Hail Mary and, they probably spell their name wrong or whatever else. So,
but I appreciate that. I appreciate those Hail Marys because sometimes those Hail Marys have in them, but I don't think we don't have time for it. It's that there are other ways that you can continue to do that. Like that label, that band that misspelled and sent you the Google Drive, which please stop sending me Google Drives.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, there can't be a worse way to listen to music, honestly.
There can't be. But like,
I got one for like a really good, really big,
known
shit band.
Wow.
The other, like just yesterday.
Wow.
And I'm like, Google Drive, really? That's how you want me to listen to your sequenced album right now? Bands don't send Google Drive link. Like get an Untitled or account or
Bandcamp,
SoundCloud, something.
SoundCloud, something. Just something where I can, But the part that I don't think this is a negative. It's not. I just think that is part of your as a band or someone trying to get attention. That is you going up to the merch table and dropping off a CD single or whatever it is, whatever the thing was or the flyer. And that was part of what you did. The next time you came through, you knew a Top Shelf band was playing. You go hit up, I'm giving ideas. You go tell Kevin, hey, I sent you the demo. We're going to be playing with blah, blah, blah band on Top Shelf. Just want to let you know. Like those types of pieces, I think are all part of it. But I think as you've shifted priorities, it seems like you've kept your hand in it, but also had a lot of trust in the folks around you.
Big time. That's like my next thing is just like I have surrounded myself with a bunch of people at the label that any one of them, in my opinion, is capable of just like fully running this label. And that feels really good. But I also just kind of to go back to that, like I'm in no way saying, I'm mostly saying I've changed my approach to how I receive that kind of communication.
Yes.
Not saying that like I in any way am like admonishing a band for like shooting their shot. I think everyone should be doing that all the time to the extent that they're comfortable with or feel compelled to. I'm just like, don't get mad if someone who you don't know doesn't get back to you. And I even don't get mad if like someone you do know doesn't get back to you. And that's something like I'm personally working on and struggle with for sure. But just like feeling taxed of it, somebody sends you like this really long, heartfelt thing, and I'm like, oh my God, that means a lot to me. I need to sit with that and like give them a real reply. And then all of a sudden it's like a month and a half later and you're like, fuck. And yeah, that happens to me a lot. And I don't know. I wish that I could just like hit pause and like step out of it all and go like, all right, I'm going to like intentionally have some sort of dialogue with everyone that I need to catch up with, and friends, old and new, just like all my relationships, even like my goddamn like siblings and parents, and just, you know, like every relationship, just like I want to reciprocate meaningfully with. And but in this capacity, in this role, it's like I don't know, you put out like hundreds of records from, you know, I don't even know what the number is, but I would imagine it's like many, many, many hundreds of individuals comprise all those different bands and musical entities. There's the engineers, there's the artists, there's the producers, there's the TMs, there's the driver of the, you know, there's the managers, and all of a sudden your extended world and universe of people that you've even just kind of brushed shoulders with or had some kind of meaningful experience with, especially in something like music that has so much emotional I don't know, just emotion attached up into it. And it's sort of like wow, how could I ever expect myself to, or anyone operating this capacity, to hold that much space for a bunch of different people? And I'm not saying like I'm getting hit up all the time by everyone, oh my God, it's overwhelming, but it can kind of feel like that with sometimes when I'm just feeling behind the ball, and just like even someone reaching out to say hey is like something I can't reply to for like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's the, as you do more, as it extends, the releases and connections, like you said, those things are going to expand, and it's going to have to be learning how to handle those questions and handling. Like you said, you could have anybody at the label run, and you can have the luxury of going away for a week, right? And the wheels aren't going to fall
Who
off.
knows? That would be great.
Okay, let's start that one up again. So if you don't leave for a week, no. But I think you being able to run this label for this long and morph, and that's in a good way. And again, I sometimes, I mean, I get scared when I reach out to people, because I think they'll never respond because of the word. They'll never respond because they don't want to be attached to the word, or that this will somehow hinder or so. It was interesting for these labels in that time period to be responsive. Some did, some didn't, and where they went. And it just, I don't know, it was interesting to watch how they intersected what was happening. Like, was it trying to glob onto what this was going on to? And I think that's good because you're experimenting. But how did it feel as like you're attached to emo and you're trying to do other things?
I remember talking to, there's this like synth pop band that we put out a few different releases from here in Portland. Actually, we weren't based here yet, but they're called Wild Ones, and kind of like a Sylvan Esso, Tame Impala, Purity Ring kind of thing going on. And that was definitely like unique for us at the time. We hadn't really released anything like that. And I remember there being like a little bit of sort of a hesitation probably to engage with us meaningfully, because of like, they're like, well, you know, we're kind of a smaller band. We're trying, you know, we feel like we have some momentum. We want to sign with a label that like, you know, maybe has more of a sound on their roster that like is known for this sound, as opposed to us who's like, we're at the time, we're probably championing, honestly, like You Blew It in like the Jazz June, and a lot of, I'm trying to think what would have been coming, but stuff that's just totally different. And but we eventually just sort of made it work, and I was like, but I do feel like I had to. There was a lot of coaxing and a lot of just sort of. Eventually, I got on the same page with like their manager. Was like, look, we'll hire out these third parties that like are vetted by you to work a radio campaign or work a PR campaign or whatever, and let us just be the behind the scenes entity that just like makes stuff happen for you. It doesn't have to be this. But eventually it's sort of like those nerves just went away, and I think they sort of like embraced it. But it was definitely a challenge hitting some people up, where that's what your bread and butter, what you're known for. And to this day, there's like a lot of people, I'll see like comments on like a Stereo Gum article or something, or just people tweeting, and there's a lot of people kind of just have it locked in that like, oh, Top Shelf emo label. Which I'm like, sure. For a lot of people, we are that. For a lot of other people, we're like a math rock kind of label. For a lot of other people, I think we're just sort of a doing whatever we want thing. I don't think we're like known necessarily for anything else. But among those two circles, those two orbits, there's a lot of people I think who think of us as like a premier label name within like the post math rock kind of world, and also, yeah, to your point, like the emo world. And those two are comprised largely of a bunch of like deeply caring dorks, who I count myself among. And it is like a cross section of music listenership that I deeply identify with, but I also want to do more than that. And I saw it as something that we had to kind of try and overcome at just like an interpersonal level, talking with people directly and just getting real with people. Like, yo, I'm going to do a good job on this. Here's my plan for it. And just having people kind of go like, yeah, right on. No, you're right. Let's do this, and that's sort of the gist of it. It ended up just being one-on-one conversations to like, we are good at this, this will require some trust.
And I think if you look back at labels that have been around a long time, their sounds have evolved or looked in different ways, or there's been eras, just like there's anything going on. Like, I don't know. I agree with you. It's hats off to a Triple B's or, a Revelation, right? That it's the same fucking thing, and hats off. And that's great. But it's rad to see in evolution, and as like you said, 20 years of doing this, it can't just be the same thing. I don't think it would have lasted if it was you were just doing You Blew It records. I'm not saying You Blew It, but like, from that era or that genre.
Right. Well, then, because a real concern of mine was like, this isn't forever. This isn't going to be like this forever. And I do remember the floor kind of like falling out a little bit in like 2016 or so.
What was that like?
It was a little scary because I'll be honest, we were in Massachusetts, and then we moved to Southern California. We moved to San Diego, and that was in 2015. And then that was sort of like a gamble, and we did it because we felt like we were finally on this, riding the crest of this like wave of certainly success that we hadn't experienced before. And so there was a lot of assumptions, I would say, made about like the safety nets that we had financially and our bottom line. And it was certainly like a rent increase to move there. And just, it's a non-trivial expense to go like, yeah, let's move at that point, 10 years worth of inventory across the country, and, just reset up our entire processes out here and reconfigure our personal lives around this space and find our own apartments and stuff that we had to rent. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, stuff's like not selling as well as it was, half a year ago or a year ago. And,
wow.
It got kind of scary. And I noticed, there were some labels that like didn't really weather that time or survive that era. some that did, but like they definitely got hampered. I think that's kind of to some degree why you saw the crunch eventually play out publicly with like the Tiny Engines royalties things. We had some issues with getting royalties on time to artists for a little while, and it got, no one starts a label going like, I'm gonna nefariously hoard cash and not pay artists that I work, like no one's wanting to do that, but all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, like damn.
Yeah,
guy,
or it's not
this
like
isn't selling, the check is due, and it gets tight.
Well, that's too. It's like you're not looking to hire the royalties person. That's not on the list. You have it as a thing, but you're right. If you've got this train that's rolling, like, and then things don't start selling, that's when, you have to jump off for a second and go, what's going on?
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
I don't want it to be like BlackRock or Vanguard or whatever. I don't want. It's got to be attached to and you can never lose sight of like I didn't start a label because I want to be like deep in spreadsheets and like doing accounting stuff or whatever, but like that's a fact of it, and someone on your staff has to be good at that and doing that. Otherwise, if you're not good at that, then from the jump, then like at some point that is going to be a problem. I would say to that point, we had never really experienced any kind of like retraction moment. It would always just been like, oh, this is better. This is going better than it was last year. That was just like always the case. And that was like the first moment where it was like, it was still great. It was still really good, but we had like made some big bets on some things, and kind of, bands break up at inopportune times. And just all of a sudden it just feels like the market for what you're doing shrinks. That like, USA Today's covering Braid and stuff like have moved on. There's other stuff going on. And that was sort of the advent of like, I think more of our like modern extended and shitification moment in general, of just like our attentions getting zapped by a lot more like social media stuff, that's the start of the Trump presidency. That's and I feel like things have been kind of different since then. The advent of like Spotify playlisting was huge in that moment too. And like, I'll be real, emo records are not really getting that treatment. The red carpet is not rolled out for that.
No. Did I tell you when I had an opportunity to start the Sirius XM emo channels, and I blew it. You know how I blew it? I told them what they should play, and what they wanted was just a pop punk playlist.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, I fucked that up. Like, because I could have snuck it in, right? Like I could have done both, but I needed to explain. Like, so what you want is not what you're calling it. So I didn't get that. I didn't get the gig.
You were like, actually, emo is. They're like, Tom, we don't want an hour of.
Yeah, no, your fucking podcast.
Right. And frankly, man, I love you for it, because you're a principled individual, and you are. Whatever size mountain or hill this is, you're certainly dying on it, and I love you for that. Like, I think about all the emo nights that sprung up in the wake of like your doing emo night originally for like, I don't even know how many years prior. It was like, dude, Tom has been doing this for like 10 years, way before it was fucking cool. And
we didn't have to pay bands to show up.
Yeah, it was you and Brian
Packers.
And people, you'd have like, I remember you'd have like, it was like a rotating door of who's who of playing in these bands that like would just come.
Dude, Braid hung out till 4 a.m. playing records. Like Bob, we could not get Bob off the decks. And it was like, I got to work tomorrow, dude. Like, I don't know, like, what the fuck? It's Thursday. But like, I think those, I mean, at another job or another thing that was part of it that let me be that way. And I think about, people would say, why don't you do a label? Why don't you do a festival? Why don't you do that? And I'm like, no.
I mean, you change the math for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to, you can't enjoy things. Sometimes it breaks your brain a little bit. I'll be real. And even just like you get a sour taste in your mouth just because you know too much sometimes. It's not, I am constantly trying to fight this, but like, when you have a bunch of people reaching out to you about like, hey, check this out, even if it's something I'm like really excited about, I'm like, cool, that goes on my like listening to-do list, rather than, oh, I'm excited to like listen to this and engage with exciting new music in a way that a fucking normal person would. I have to train my brain not to treat everything as like a list item to be crossed off and dealt with, and it can feel like that. And so it's not a thing that inspires a lot of like momentum behind your listening habits, where you're like, yeah, let's go for a walk and put on some headphones or something, and just put on whatever I want to, because it's, a sunny day or it's a rainy day and I want to listen to something else, or, that suits that. It's like, oh, I have to listen to these things to get back to that person, or I have to listen to these things to give mix notes for some engineer or somebody's asking for that. Or I just have to listen to a bunch of things to make sure I'm staying up with like what's going on and what new music is out there, because that's my job, to put out things that are interesting and compelling and that like might sell well. And no, all that shit sucks. And it's just like a really fucked way of having to engage with music. And I'm constantly trying to just go like, no, dude, just live your life, find music the way that you always have enjoyed to do it. You have to enjoy it or it like won't be good.
And I think that feeling is hard to explain to someone if you see something on TV or you see a show or you go to a festival, and I just think it takes a lot to have the creative energy and as well as the business energy.
Yeah. I mean, maintaining some balance in it is key for at least, for what I do. But yeah, it's sort of like kind of going back to what I was saying, where you need an accountant, and you need vibes-based accounting, and you need like real fixed amounts-based accounting, and they have to work in concert with each other.
Yeah. What was the move to Portland like? Was that because San Diego got expensive, or
a little bit? Yes. Some like, this is the story everywhere, but it was, like 18, I think. The building we were like in this like, there's like creative lofts, like a sharing space sharing space with a bunch of like artists, working artists and stuff, and we just happened to be sort of like using artist lofts as like warehouse space, so it was really cheap. But then the building got bought by some, I don't know, building management company or whatever, some private equity shit, and they jacked up all the rents like, I think it was like 40%, 40% or something. And it was just like, this is too much for, we had like a 3,500 or 4,000 square foot space, and it just, the math wasn't mathing for us. And so that's when we shipped everything we made a very difficult decision to, for the first time, not handle all of our own mail order and fulfillment and warehousing. We shipped it all to Austin to be taken over by this company called Awesome Merch, which you may remember.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. And so anyway, that ended up being an ill-fated decision, but it was like one that we really just we couldn't find cheap enough rent, and like it just, it caught us off guard, and all of a sudden we were like, this is the most practical decision. They kind of gave us an offer that like we were their first ever US client. And so they gave us like a really good offer. I think they just needed like to show that they had anyone working with them at the time, so that they could approach other people and be like, look, Top Shelf works with us,
Mm-hmm.
But so we were sort of lured into that situation. And then mostly it was like personal life stuff. Like I just met and fell in love with someone and we decided to move to Portland together. So then it was like, I moved everything up here, but then, we still had everything D2C wise, like warehouse wise, all our inventory was in Texas. And then when Awesome Merch went bankrupt, we lost a ton of money in that. And it was just a whole debacle. And I had to just go down there with a U-Haul truck and flew out a few different employees. We spent like 4 or 5 days there just packing up U-Haul trucks full of all of our stuff, all willing, just throwing everything in boxes all willy-nilly, just filling the truck. And then, because we were worried it was going to get possessed or repossessed.
Repossessed.
Both, I don't know. We were being told
both work, possessed and repossessed.
Yeah. Really scary stuff and moment where I was ready to definitely crowbar some doors open and just go take it. And, but yeah, we were being told that like, hold on, they have tons of debts, and we might have to claim all this property as like, assets that would go towards that. I'm like, good luck, dude. Like, I'm the best person in the world at selling this stuff, and I have a hard time selling it sometimes. So, like, good luck. But eventually they didn't even really we just filled up the trucks and left. And it was just driving it like 20 something hours straight we pulled over on the side of the road, took little naps, and then just got it up to Portland, unloaded it. And then the label up here ran out of several storage units for like 2 years. It was awful.
Oh my God.
Anytime I would have to drive my Volvo to the storage unit, pick everything that came through for orders the previous few days. It was really humbling because it was just like back to my OG days of like, all right, I do the mail order and I also like run this label, and I was just running everything out of my apartment and a few storage units. But because of the move and the like rushed hurriedness of it, like somebody would order something and I would just be looking sometimes for like weeks, just like, dude, I know that's in this room, but there's like 30,000 fucking boxes in here and it's in one of them. It'd be like some record that we only have like 1 or 2 boxes left of, and I'm like kind of needle in a haystack hours where I would just write people and be like, so many people were endlessly patient during that time, which is cool. But occasionally you'd have some people who just like didn't know what was going on and it'd be all, expected to be like Amazon Prime kind of service. And I'm like, it's not like that over here. But yeah, like I told you at the top, now we bought a building, everything's really organized, and we're back overseeing everything ourselves. And I feel if the nightmare of that is over and feels like a very distant past. So
yeah. And so what are, purchasing that, the changes, like it feels, this is like at the 45-minute mark of the Behind the Music.
Yeah. New era. You mentioned eras of things, and I feel firmly like we're in one right now.
How so? Just with the new beginning, you're having your stuff space, being in a place that you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, all of the above to some degree. Output wise, staff wise, I can just tell I got some like really locked in people who give as much of a fuck as I do, and that feels great and supportive as heck. And but also just I struggle with like not paying attention to the present as much. I'm not a nostalgic person really, and I'm constantly leaning forward in my just sort of like my general outlook and vantage point. I'm very much just like, what could this be? Like or what do I want this to be? Or what's next? And like, I'm working on that now that I'm a little older, just like, yo, this is already like the coolest thing you could have ever imagined. Like, you chill for a second and just enjoy that. And like, some nights I'll just be like working late, sitting in the warehouse, and it's all just really, listening to some records, and I'll kind of like spin my chair and look, and I'm like, this is like, when you're 19 starting a label, you couldn't even have fathomed, you had no idea it could be like this. Just really, really good. And just thinking of all the people I've met. And I know earlier I'm complaining, like, everybody sends me their demo, but it's like, what a sick ass fucking thing that people make something and go, I want Kevin to hear this. And I'm like, that's beautiful. That's incredible. I love that. And just everything about it is so dope when I take like a snapshot, when I take mental inventory of where it's at right now. But I also am like this version of myself that can't not think about the future too and get excited about that. And so I'm constantly yes-anding like every moment. And yeah, I'm just really excited about the possibilities here. But we bought a century plus old building, so there's like a lot of work to do.
When was that breakthrough? Like of you really, pushing through that idea of trying not to just to be in it for a moment, just to sit in the uncertainty.
Oh, dude, like falling in love with someone and like, realizing there's all these little beautiful moments. I just been kind of rolling solo, not really pinned down by any, just in terms of my own relationships romantically. I was like, I don't know, I don't want to have anyone like that. And then all of a sudden you just meet someone and they're just, you're like, fuck, I actually don't really have a say in this. I like, I like have to do this.
Yeah.
And, my partner Tabitha, she's been just really great with, I think, helping me reaffix my attention and like outlook and appreciation for just what I have, how things have come to be, my relationships in general, with her, with myself, with everyone, with what I'm intentional about around me, and that's the breakthrough really is, a very loving and caring and intentional woman in my life. Of course, what else would it be?
No, but I think what you said is valid with intention, boundaries. This is where my energy is going, because I am eternally stuck in the next shiny cat toy, right? It's like, this is cool, I'm going to go to that, and then this isn't cool, I'm going to, forget that, move on to the next thing. And then you didn't sit in, like, I was thinking about it, I was, where the fuck was I? Was I driving? I think I was driving. And I said, I've been playing guitar since I was 14, right? Or 13 or 12, whatever it was, and I would sit and do that for hours and hours and hours. And if I picked up a guitar, I could play it. And I'm like, think if, I was intentional in other things that it could be, like they say, like riding a bike or just picking it up and being able to do that. And it gets harder, right? Life happens, bullshit happens, shit we have to figure out happens. But it's hard to stay in the moment when you have all those things as your checklist.
Yeah. I mean, your 10,000 hours or whatever of like that thing that you deeply care about and want to get as good as you can at it, just for no other reason than, I mean, as far as I understand, for you at least, and I'm very similar. I started playing drums when I was like 12, 13, 14, in 8th grade, summer of 8th grade into 9th grade, whatever age you are then, 13, 14. And briefly played in a band for a little bit, but otherwise I still play nowadays all the time. And I just practice drums, and there's no reason to do it other than I derive joy from it, and I like creating nonsense and making noise, and I don't know, challenging myself to do something and just having fun, really. And it sounds like you're approaching it the same way, but it's hard to make space for that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, how did you, other than love and a new area and a new thing, because how did you find space for that?
I think I'm bad at it, but mostly I kind of hit a point where I like really ADHD brain or what. I'm just like, what are you doing right now? You're procrastinating like crazy. Let's go reset. Let's go use my brain in a completely different way. Let's stop thinking about, album art layouts for a moment, or let's stop, game planning a production timeline and release schedule for these singles or whatever. Just my brain doesn't want to do that right now. My brain wants to go bing bang bong on a bunch of drums, so I'm like, let's just give it that, or go for a walk or something. Running is big for me, where it's just like a completely meditative reset, and then I kind of just have time or the energy to my mindset shifts again a little bit, and it's like, oh, okay, I feel renewed, a renewed sense of I can conquer whatever other thing I wanted to do in that moment.
And that's going to get you ready for that next hurdle that is going to come your way.
Yeah, the neighbors probably aren't hyped on that, but in terms, they're gonna be hearing some drums. Yeah.
Did we talk are you into video games?
A little. When I do, I get really into them, and then like I'll stop, and I just won't play a video game for like 2 or 3 years, and then I'll get, I'll log like 300 hours into something, and then I won't touch video games again for years. So
this
yes and no.
Okay, this relates a little bit. I saw a essay about Crimson Desert.
See, I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so Crimson Desert is this new game that's basically an open world, but they don't really tell you what to do. And people are finding things about it every day that are different and new. And the Metacritic used to be 67, now it's like 87. Like, as slowly people are finding out about it and playing it. What I found interesting is the open world type game where you just wanted to be in the world. It wasn't a bunch of checkboxes, right? Or quests to go do this, go do that, go do that. People were trying to 100% something, right? Or show that they were doing something. You just played it because you liked it. This game is being taught or sort of seen as that again. That You're just there to play it, man. If you want to go do the side quests for 12 hours, you can go do that. You don't, I just felt there's this map that people think you need to go by. And if you go off the path and you don't get that one sword that you're supposed to get, you're fucked. And you're not. You're not fucked.
Okay,
Do you get me?
Yeah, totally. I have a hilarious analogy. It's funny that you said sword. There's this formative game I played when I was a kid called Earthbound.
Great game, everybody. Great game.
Yeah. And every few years I'll do a playthrough again just to reacquaint myself with it or whatever. And I don't know, I mentioned not being too nostalgic, but there's a few things where I just like can't help myself. And I guess that being one of them. And I had never there's this item called the Sword of Kings that one of the characters can get, and there's like a drop, like an enemy drop rate of like, 1 out of every 250 battles you face with like one of these opponents will, like drop this as a chance item that you can't get without defeating another enemy to get it. It's not like it's just like you go somewhere and open the treasure box or whatever and you get it. So I'm like, I've never gotten it before. I'm going to try and like grind and get this thing. And I probably, no joke, like 6, 7, 8 hours later, I still don't have this thing. And I'm like, I'm like sapping the joy. Like I can feel myself now approaching this with a totally different mindset. It is, a to-do list. It's a checklist again. I'm like, and eventually I probably got like 10 hours into this quest, to this like little side quest, this joyless grinding side quest. And I was like, this sucks so fucking much. And like, at that point you're like 80% of the way through the game. So you'd only have the item for like,
right.
It's not like a game breaking thing. And I was just sort of like, you just got to eat it and say the last 8 hours, whatever of your life are completely wasted. And this is a hard lesson to learn. And you need to just actually like the game is a game. It is not, it's meant to, like you're supposed to have I don't know. And far be it for me to say like how you should engage with something like that. And that's the fun thing about games is there is the person who's like, I need to 100% this. I need to like glitch speed run this thing. I need to
Totally.
see. And that's its own endeavor and its own thing. But like that, I was like, this is not fun for me. Why am I forcing myself to do this? And then the longer you're doing it, the more you feel like sort of this commitment. You're like, well, I'm fucking kind of, I can't go back now, you know? Anyway, there's a metaphor big time there for something. But just swallowing my pride a little bit and going, okay, moving along, we're just going to clear this level. And once you clear the level, the other thing about it is once you like defeat the boss of that stage or whatever, it just seals it away. You can't go back and like get that item anymore. So it's just like okay, that's that. And so I did that and I was like, Jesus Christ, that kind of felt good also. Just like, let's get that behind me. But I'm the same way. Maybe I need to check out this game because like I would always play games and then like I'd be playing like Age of Empires and, you know, I'd get, even when I was playing like against the computer or whatever, I would like completely get the enemy just completely annihilated. No one's bothering me anymore. I'm not at war. There's no threat to me. And I'm like, cool, let's start like building a beautiful town and farming, like just really playing at that point, like Stardew Valley or something.
Yeah.
But like, and I'll be logging these like 4+ hour gameplays of like a single session, which is, you know, this game is like ideally like a half hour to an hour long max for like a single battle. And I would be just in there farming and making like this perfect utopian society. and it's just like, I don't know what game I actually want to play or if it exists or whatever, but I want the struggle of like, you know, battle an opponent or whatever, but I also want to like world build. And it sounds like
so you have a camp that you build. He has a house that you can build and organize, but then also you have these factions that you can send out and do quests, but you also fight people. You have fucking weapons. But then like I've been petting a dog for the last 2 days in the game just so it'll follow me around and pick up stuff after I do battles.
Okay.
So
just like in real life.
Just like in real life. But why I brought it up was I think when you've done something for a really long time, there are pieces of you that go, should I be doing this long? Should I be doing something else? Is this what I'm doing? I'm 80% of the way through, right? Am I just going to keep going? And I think the way that you've changed scenery, or you've gotten new people with you, right? Staff, and that you've looked at yourself and analyzed, or at least tried to look at what's working and what's not, and trying things. I don't know. I think I resonate with that. It's hard to do something for a long time. And it's hard because you have people, you have social media telling you fuck off, you have all these things, and then it's just
no voice louder than even sometimes your own,
right?
Like inside your head, yeah, for sure.
So, being able to talk to you today after sending you some freaked out email 20 years ago, you know, going, oh my God, where did you come from? I stand on this mountain forever. But, you know, but I just think it is beautiful to get through that, and that when another thing comes your way that's difficult, you've got the strength to get through that.
Yeah, a lot of it is just because like, oh, I've done this before, like, or I've done something like this, so I'm armed with some knowledge, or even if it's misplaced, like courage to, you know, go through whatever this is going to be. And everything's different all the time. Like I'd say I don't know that I would be good at starting a label right now, but I am seeing people do it really successfully, which is exciting and cool.
Who?
Well, okay, I'll speak to like Portland local scene right now. There's so many DIY venues, smaller like local bands that I don't think are getting a lot of international attention, but I think the scene here is really, really good. And lots of like smaller labels. There's like Bud Tapes here. There's Pleasure Tapes here. Really rad records before they had a really unfortunate like fire at their place that destroyed like everything. Was on this like, in my opinion, kind of like generational run where it felt like they were really gonna start to be something that was much more known. And I don't know if they're gonna give it a go again, but their rosters, I think a lot of your listeners would enjoy. But yeah, even like Dead Air, I think is like sonically a totally different thing. But Jesse, who runs that, only started that a few years ago, and I feel like it's just like all of a sudden that's like one of the biggest labels right now, doing really hype shit. A lot of like shoegaze, hyper pop kind of stuff, but it's like I don't know, like kids just find like, I like this, I want to do this, and finding success with it, which rocks that you can still do it. The recipe is way different though than obviously we started Top Shelf in 2006, and like, you know, you could sell ringback tones, and iTunes store was like everything. We were in like very recently a post like lumberjack distribution collapse.
Oh, wow.
Like, you know, iPhones didn't exist yet. The Spotify was a twinkle in a few ad execs' eyes in Sweden, and that's, you know, like it was a completely different world. And so there's a lot of stuff where I'm saying like, oh yeah, we've been here, we've done it, whatever, but so much of it is also new. And
I think that's what keeps me in it.
But from a label perspective too, it's interesting because, you know, there's plenty of bands right now and tons I've reached out to, and I'm not as accustomed to like reaching out to a band that I you know, personally find, or I have my own, you know, discovery moment with their music, and I get really excited about it, and I reach out and they're like, no, we don't need a label, or you know, no thanks, we're gonna try and go it alone, or we're just, you know, sitting and we're just gonna sit on this for a while and see, you know, kind of how it shakes out. And it's hard for an independent label right now with increased major label market share, just really private equity and like major labels buying up everything. Downtown Music maybe being acquired, most notably. That feels imminent, and it's just like all the independent music architecture infrastructure is no longer independent. It's downstream of major label stuff. Entirely.
It's so hard. I'm so annoying because someone will be like, "Oh my god, this is on the radio. It's cool. They're indie." I was like, I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to let it go. You know, but that, you're right. It's all part of the same stream.
And at this point, I don't know. I'm having to constantly change and shift how we go about structuring things, which I think is good. Ultimately, I'm always wanting to have what we're doing be like an artist favorable outcome, and structure how we offer agreements to artists and stuff in a way that works for everybody. But increasingly there's just like, you can have that or whatever, but it's like a lot of times small potatoes compared to, you know, the massive advances that can be paid out by like major label owned entities. So that part's kind of crazy because you can just have a band that like didn't exist like a year ago, get some like algorithmic traction or whatever, and then all of a sudden there's just like crazy offers being dangled in front of them, and they maybe haven't even played like a show out of their state or anything yet. And yeah, I can't imagine what that's like to be in that situation, like the psyche of that, being on the receiving end of that as like a young band. But that's a lot of what I'm seeing right now, which is probably an exciting premise. It is like, I'm lamenting that that's the framework that I have to operate within, you know, from a business perspective as like someone who runs a label. But from an artist perspective, I think it's great. And it creates a lot of opportunities for artists to like, you know, get some value that feels appropriate for like, what they're, the traction they're getting online and on tour and what have you. I just wish it wasn't all owned by major label entities right now. But so that's, I kind of forget what the question or what you were even speaking to was, but things shifting and changing or whatever. And I'm constantly just I'm like, what works? What's always worked, And for me, that's like, with this building, I'm like, okay, this is an IRL thing that like, we can have a venue, we can do shows, we can put a little record shop in here, we can have a little late night cafe and just play records and turn people on to stuff, host little listening parties and film, sessions when bands come through. And I don't know, I think all of that's dope and we need more of it. So I'm sort of, I trust the staff I have. I'm slowly kind of relinquishing control of this thing to them and trying to lean more into like what I can do to build out the IRL, like physical footprint of this label here in Portland, in this building, in this space, and as an extension of, its part in the hub of like a broader, actual, real community here. So
I love that. Are you planning on doing any celebration stuff around the 20?
Sorry, I'm laughing because that's not an unreasonable question, but like the day kind of just came and went. And
when was the day?
We celebrated as February 24th because it's the only date that we started the label in 2005, but we like didn't incorporate it or like we registered it as a business with the state of we got the paperwork for that and like made a bank account and everything in February of 2006. 24th is just chosen arbitrarily because 24 is my favorite number.
42 is my favorite number.
Yeah, right on.
I like that.
42. I like that too. I like the way the 4 fits into the into the 2.
But the 4 fits into the 2 that way too. On the other one, yep, I love it. So 2006, great numbers, great numbers. So 2006. So the day came and went. That whole, any ideas around that or thoughts, or is it just full steam ahead?
Yeah, well, a little bit. I mean, I'm like, in a lot of ways, same as it ever was. Let's keep it going. But and I'm sort of also looking at like. Okay, real quick. Like 1/5 of a century or a quarter century, like a quarter century hits. People say that. No one is going 1/5 of a century. No one is like remarking upon like, and so I'm like, yo, we'll do the big coffee table book, the retrospective, that'll be at 25.
Okay, and, I like that. Okay, so we have time to work on that.
Yeah. So but that's another thing. I'm like, okay, I got this staff. I can start to get nostalgic and pull this together and write some little essays and pull together anecdotes and footage and stuff. Now that I have a bunch of folks that like I trust to keep things moving, in the present, and I can shift my focus to the past a little bit with a mindset, being mindful of like, this is the past for the future in a weird way, if that makes sense. Telling the legacy of this thing and that like, really, I deeply give a shit about, but like, I don't expect everyone will, but there's a story to tell about it. We'll see who cares about it. But we've intentionally skipped, I don't know how we had the foresight to do this or why, but we got the idea we were sharing warehouse space. Seth, who runs Topshelf with me, he was an intern at Bridge 9 Records. And they did this thing where they were like skipping every 50th catalog number. So like BNR050 would be like skipped.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
And then so that way, and I can't remember what they did. I think they did like a retrospective, like 7-inch box set, and then like reassigned those numbers retroactively to like each 7-inch in the set or whatever. And then like each 7-inch was some unreleased track or B-side or demo or something from one of the records that came out in that fifth group of 50, if that makes sense. And we saw that and we were like, so cool. That's such an awesome idea. And so like from the jump, from the very early days, we were like, we'll skip every 50. So TSR 50, 100, 150, et cetera, are all skipped. And they're just kind of placeholders right now. So I think I'm going to lead into the CD for it and just do like a CD box set with each CD containing rarities, B-sides, unreleased stuff from the previous 50 releases, and then release that as like a big CD box set with a book. But I got to write this thing and gather all the photos and do tons of outreach to tons of different people. And now it'll be, instead of, hey, listen to these demos, or hey, listen, I'm going to be like, hey, it's me again. Can you send me those pictures? Hey, so yeah, my turn to be annoying.
I love that.
So that's the goal with that. And we're doing, at least this year, we picked like 10 titles that I think warrant a sort of a repress. I'd say a lot of them are in the emo canon for sure. And stuff that's just been out of print for a while. Over the label's last 20 years or so that we're just doing limited represses of, and then just trying to lean into a little bit more. I'm seeing, it's cool. I touched on it earlier, but like a band like Marietta, where they're just getting so much more attention. There's things like that in our catalog to certain degrees where like I'm seeing the Jazz June get a lot more attention digitally. Happy Diving just getting a lot more attention digitally more recently, like just a different audience finding these bands, whether it be algorithmically or whatever. But it's getting attention, and I think that rocks. And I'm like not just gonna sit back and go like, I'll collect a check on it or whatever. I'm like, hey, let's like continue with that and try and it's been out of press for like 10 years or whatever. Let's make vinyl again for it and try and get the word out more about it. And all of a sudden it's just cool. You're helping retired musicians with families, just giving them a little bit of like a passive income too for work that they did.
Yeah.
In some cases like 20 plus years ago, I wrote the Jazz Dune dudes. I was like, I have money for you, like a thousands of dollars to pay you guys, and not to like, anyway, like a meaningful amount of money for each of you. And they're all just like, what the fuck? Like, we've never been paid for our music before, which is a crazy thing to hear. You would expect that a band like that would receive, I don't know, would have at some point, but they were psyched. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It seems like we're just going to have like continue to just keep having meaningful money for you guys for the foreseeable future. And like, let's try and grow that together, because you guys all have kids and shit now.
What's cool about it is that it's available. You've had it available and people can experience it, right? Which is helpful. Algorithm aside, it's available. People can experience it. And then you're giving that new fan something to get or something to experience that they didn't have a chance to. And this is that new fan. Why not? Mm-hmm. Why not help that new fan?
Well, it's that, or you're like, you go on Discogs, you're like, okay, this is $120, what, or whatever. A number that's bigger than it reasonably should be. And you're priced out because like, I don't know, you weren't there when it happened. Mm-hmm. You didn't, and obviously, there's like, I can't just go, hey, let's make vinyl on demand for you, young fella. It's got to math a little bit. I got to make at least 500 and be able to realistically sell 500 of something for me to really even consider doing it. But like, yeah, it's great to look at some things years later and go, there's still an appreciation for this, and maybe even more so now. And we could help grow that. So I'm sort of in my like, there's a legacy of a thing if you do it for 20 years for sure. And I don't want to lose sight of, you know, I'm psyched on like new stuff that we have in the works, but I'm also like, hey, there's a lot of timeless, really classic, impactful stuff that, I mean, on the homepage of our website, there's like this big, frankly, too long diatribe of like how I think there's meaningful music discovery for music of any age. You know, like you're always able to find something that feels fresh and new, regardless. Some of my favorite music I'm finding lately is just like jazz records from the 70s and 80s. And I'm like, yeah, that's like vital and invigorating to me. And it's been out there my entire life. But I'm just finding it right now, you know? So there's always something new to you, whether it's new or not. And I'm very much trying to take that approach with the catalog now that we're kind of stewards of it for the last 20 years and moving forward with that.
I think that's super cool. And respectful and it's keeping it alive. I think that's been the hardest part. Before it was just physically, how do you keep it alive, right? How do you have enough? Like, or just go out of print, and then no one has the master tapes. And now with digital, you're able to have these things in different ways and to share them. And so to be able, like you said, stewards, I think is a beautiful way to treat this music, because you're right. Someone could find about Topshelf Records today.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love for them to have, you know, a little guidebook, not necessarily a map with a checklist, but at least something that they can open up and just, you know, travel in, and wherever it leads them, and at least it's available. And I think that's the access part is what's key. And you've made it very easy for people to find your music.
Yeah, I mean, that's step one. But also, might I point their attention to the WUMR WUMR episode of the Top Shelf curated episode of Washed Up Emo.
Oh, the Washed Up Emo Radio.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
UER. Yeah, UER. Not, I mean, I don't know where the M came from. Yeah, but you had us tape one, and that was really fun, man. I did college radio. Well, 3 of the years I was in college, I was a DJ at my college radio station, and that felt, sort of. It was cool to tap back into that a little bit.
Oh, I like that.
A lot of fun time with that.
Hell yeah, it is fun.
I don't know what episode you had us do or whatever, but yeah, you had us do one, and it was sort of, the gist was like, I don't know, give us the too long didn't read of like the label if you could.
Yep. I will put that in the show notes for everybody to click. Anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, I'm working on this thing called Tone with some friends. It's basically we're building a hybrid Bandcamp, Substack, Spotify-esque service that has downloads, it has music streaming, it has publishing alongside it, and it's owned by everyone who uses it, rather than by, you know, Epic or Songtrader or Sony or EMI or whatever. So it's we're really close to being able to have a working version for people to kick the tires on, but if that is a compelling thing to you, I just got to plug that. It is tone.audio, where you can sign up and check it out. And yeah, hoping to have a lot of more of like an independent solution for streaming and downloading and publishing that isn't owned by private equity or major labels or whatever. So yeah, wanted to shout that.
Yeah, and then also you got to plug, you know what, if you want to send your demo in, send it to Kev.
Yes.
Google Drive is preferred.
No, send me one email per track.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm the same as you, where I used to reply to every single one, and I got to a point where I was like, I'm not able to. And I I've been on the other side of that. I send pitches to people. I email
Yeah.
bands I'm interested in, and I just never hear back. I follow up. I feel ridiculous on my like fourth follow up. I'm like, are you completely void of shame? Like, and but I'm like, who knows? I don't know. And yeah, no reply or whatever. And I'm like, you just have to. I will likely meet that person or those people or whatever in real life. We will all have to sit with the awkwardness of you never replied to my email, but who fucking cares? That's just part of it. And I'm sort of just like, you have to understand and respect that part of the language of this is, yeah, I can't even tell you how many times I must have emailed Algernon back in the day about like, dude, I love your band. I want to release Algernon Kedwalder music. And they never once replied to me. And yeah, now I like hang out with Pete, or he lives in Portland. I see him all the time at shows and stuff. And there's no ill will behind that sentiment or anything other than just simply like, dude, I'm keeping my head above water. And, or I know what I want, and it's not that. And I don't know. Yeah, the no response is the response.
It is. So yes, I know that well.
So I don't know. And people find their things. There's somebody who likes your shit for sure. I don't know why I'm like trying to be inspirational about it right now, but like you got to keep shooting your shot, but don't get dismayed when nobody gets back to you, because it happens to fucking everybody.
Yeah.
So
I did have somebody that emailed me and sent me their music, and I guess they're bigger now, and they said I was the only one to email them when they sent out their first demo.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like,
that's always cool too.
That's what I'm saying. That's what gives me the drive to email the Google Drive, right?
Like the current environment of your attention being pulled in so many different directions, because our world is, well, it's always been kind of fucking absolutely insane and terrifying and beautiful and everything, but it's just much more in the palm of your hand, I guess, if you will. Now it's visceral. It's very front and center. It's hard to avoid, and it's addictive.
You know what I'm going to try to do, which goes back to the WUER, is I think forcing myself to do a live DJ set forces me to listen and also pick something after, and I can't stop because I'm streaming.
Yeah. No, I love it. Like set hours of it?
Exactly. Yeah, like set hours, like to be like, okay, these are the 2 hours. I might be streaming it, but I'm going to play records, because I can't get myself to do that because of all the distractions.
Mm-hmm.
Or
do you remember Turntable FM?
Of course. That was the shit.
Yeah. I loved it. So part of what we're doing with Tone is like to make a more simplified version of that. For the co-listening. It's so, there's so many things where I look back and we have to go back. Like, what is the bullshit we have today? Just like the slop treadmill. Nothing's intentional or curated anymore.
Like nothing would make me happier than to be in a room with people that brought over like a stack of records, and we all just shared shit, and we didn't have any way to look up anything.
Okay, you got to be all right. I want to look it up, but I'm with you. There's like, I'm seeing a huge rise in like listening rooms in general, like a lot of, some of it's like really hi-fi.
Yeah.
And this can kind of get up its own ass a little bit, where I'm sort of just like, chill. Like, but also I respect that there's a spectrum that this is on, and some of it is like, you are in this space, the sound is paramount, it is the most important thing of everything. Phones off, or just we're listening to music only in this space right now. And I think that's really cool, and I think that's sort of a testament to, it's a reaction to generally our broader moment of like overstimulation and non-intentional sources of, at least as it relates to music, just curation and discovery. It is so fucking sick to have another human being read the room and go, for these people, for this audience, in this moment, I think I should play this. And that's
my favorite fucking thing. That's
the secret sauce right there.
People would come up and go, dude, I was just thinking about this song and you played it. And I was like, I know.
I fucking know, man.
Or they request something and then you play the song after that's like the side project secret song, and they look back at you and you're just like, yeah, man, it's cool. Like this is, and I think that is the coolest. That was the coolest part of doing the nights, I think.
Yeah, you play the Braid song and then you play the Lifted Bells song, or the City on Film track or whatever, and it's like not even like those are like deep cuts or anything, but it's like a little bit of a man, we're curating the evening.
No, it's so much fun. And then when it gets like weird, and then like people are like, I didn't know you fucking like this band, and it's like those are those moments that reminds me of the mixtape in the car ride home from a show. And I know that can happen in many different ways, but
for me, that's the burnt CD. Yeah, if I was driving somewhere for like over an hour, part of leaving the house was burning a new CD for that ride.
Yeah. And then when it got old, you threw that shit on shuffle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Or just, I don't know, like a lot of them I'm like, I just wrote like spring mix or some shit like that, like it's lettuce. And
yeah.
and just you forget what's on it. So then you're just playing shuffle with all these CDs, and
like was that Kale or Spring Mix? Fuck, which one had that song I want? Yeah.
No way to know.
So, you know what, I was going to tell you this is motivation has been really hard with the podcast, with anything, because of just the way the word is getting thrown around, and it's just, I'm by myself, and then it's like when people ask me to do something that's around a marketing thing, and then I ask them how many other podcasts are happening around the same time, and they said, yours is coming out the same time as 6 others. I go, I'm not going to do it. And I say no. And I just, whatever hill I'm on, it just seems like there's this, I don't know, I'm doing this to curate a historical thing. It's not like a marketing thing. And I know, anyway, my motivation has been so tough lately with listening, engaging with the comments, or like, I can't look at them anymore. I can't look at comments. I can't look at chats. I don't know. It's really stunted. Because I don't care, but
yeah,
I don't care. I just think anyway. That's been super tough.
2 things have recently surfaced for me that are pretty big breakthroughs. I'm definitely in my like, I'm totally fine with being misunderstood era. I'm like, as long as I feel intentional in everything I'm doing and grounded in my moral, ethical compass, I know where true north is. Then like that's all that matters really for me. I don't really care about anything else. And then the second thing, and this is very important, it's really freeing and just so dope to be deeply corny. Just not really give a fuck about the perception of I don't know what you're into. Like I think it's just awesome. It's important. I can't say this enough, to have your own taste and palette, and whatever that means, whatever the aesthetics of that are, just that's what they are. And you don't have to hide any aspect of that. That's just like, it's very freeing. You don't need to be like gatekeepy and cagey and weird about your own interests and what you're like, oh, this is corny. It's like, yeah, awesome, cool, who cares? Do you like it?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's reason enough to, I don't know if I can, what's the story with, there's probably so many stories with things that are I bet it's hard to just approach or think to even approach people without a marketing initiative or some kind of.
No, that's when I found it the easiest, because I found people that weren't being hit up.
Yeah, okay. They're
It's
like, damn, I could talk to you all day.
Yeah, like, like Lad from Park, right? Like, he's like, I have an episode with him, and like we did the emo guitar together with Baldwin Guitars, which was really fun. I don't know if you saw that released. I like designed a guitar. It's for emo.
Dude, no, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Baldwin Guitars. They randomly met me because I randomly mentioned that I'm in social work school. A fan of the show is a social worker, reached out to his buddy who makes guitars. When I graduated, they emailed me and said, we're going to make you a custom guitar. And I said, what? And so they handed it to me at Best Friends. I got it at Best Friends Forever. They came from Utah and handed it to me, and I made it specifically for emo.
Wow.
Yeah. So
is this manufactured like is this a prototype?
No, it's literally, you can buy one right now.
It's like the Tom Mullen signature edition.
Washed up emo. It's washed up. It has the washed up logo on it.
And it has like your autograph on the headstock.
I think the way that you've pushed and gotten yourself in this mess, label, and to be able to still be there and still knocking these things down and still being stoked is, I just think, a massive thing. So just shout out to you and everybody involved.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, man. Enjoy the beautiful day.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I have to caulk and prime the side of my house.
Oh, my God.
That's what happens when you own your own building now. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing that for the rest of the afternoon.
I love it, Kevin. I love it, man. Please stay in touch. Let me know about those records, and I'm just really happy for you.
Okay, I will, and thank you. And yeah, you owe me a slice of pizza next time I see you.
Oh, 1,000%. You fucking saved my ass. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Tom.
Peace.
Bye-bye.